Hello, good people. So good to be with you today. How good was that C3 The Book It recap video, and compiled by none other than Joseph, one of our 18-year-old young guns on the ground there. But you know, none of what you saw on that video would exist without the love of God doing something in our hearts as a church, and then together us choosing to do something about this impression that God was giving us. And so it started as a spark, and it moved from there into part of our Beyond initiatives as we then prayed, we gived, and then some of us went, and it developed into C3 The Book It, a church you see now, which has become God's love in action on earth, a dwelling place for His love in the Book It region. And Beyond, if you're new with us, Beyond is our local, regional, and global missions efforts. This is the love of God alive in us. And check this out, it's God's love finding vessels through which to flow, alive and tangible in our pray, give, and go. That's right, it rhymes, and I want you to remember God's love finding vessels through which to flow, alive and tangible in our pray, give, and go. And in a world that is so divided, nothing is more radiant than love. In a world that is so me-focused, nothing is as radiant as love. In a world that is so polarized, nothing is more radiant than love. In a world that is so uncertain, nothing is more radiant than love. And 2020 has reminded us that there is so much we can't control. There is so much that is beyond our control. That sense of certainty, however much of that we had, has been shaken. And so there are many things that we can't control, but what we can control is simply acting in love each day. There are small and large steps of love that we can take, that we can control regardless of what is happening around us. Let's read together this morning 1 Corinthians 13. Let's go the whole chapter, and we'll be reading from the Passion Translation. If I were to speak with eloquence in earth's many languages and in the heavenly tongues of angels, yet I didn't express myself with love, my words would be reduced to a hollow sound of nothing more than a clanging cymbal. If I were to have the gift of prophecy with a profound understanding of God's hidden secrets, and if I possessed unending supernatural knowledge, if I had the greatest gift of faith that could move mountains, but have never learnt to love, then I am nothing. And if I were to be so generous as to give away everything I owned to feed the poor, and to offer my body to be burnt as a martyr, without the pure motive of love, I would gain nothing of value. Love is large and incredibly patient. Love is gentle and consistently kind to all. It refuses to be jealous when blessing comes to someone else. Love does not brag about one's achievements nor inflate its own importance. Love does not traffic in shame or disrespect, nor selfishly seek its own honor. Love is not easily irritated or quick to take offense. Love joyfully celebrates honesty and finds no delight in what is wrong. Love is a safe place of shelter, for it never stops believing the best for others. Love never takes failure as defeat, for it never gives up. Love never stops loving. It extends beyond the gift of prophecy, which eventually fades away. It is more enduring than tongues, which will one day fall silent. Love remains long after words of knowledge are forgotten. Our present knowledge, our prophecies are but partial. But when love's perfection arrives, the partial will fade away. When I was a child, I spoke about childish matters, for I saw things like a child and reasoned like a child. But the day came when I matured, and I set aside my childish ways. For now we see but a faint reflection of riddles and mysteries, as though reflected in a mirror, but one day we will see face to face. My understanding is incomplete now, but one day I will understand everything, just as everything about me has been fully understood. Until then, there are three things that remain: faith, hope, and love. Yet love surpasses them all. So above all else, let love be the beautiful prize for which you run. Well, it's been an interesting last week or so in the Schroeder house. Our middle girl journeyed into this adventure of crazy fever and vomiting that was followed by this unusual fast-spreading rash, and then this unbearable pain in her joints, and was actually unable to move. So here we go. Pretty full on and a little concerning. We went to prayer and we went to all the practical things we could do, and ended up with 2 different hospitals, ended up with being quarantined, endless tests, and 4 or 5 days in hospital. We're home now, on the mend, so it's okay. You don't have to worry for us. But I want to springboard from here and look at a few angles on love. So firstly, we're going to see, where is God's love when life is messy? Secondly, we're going to look at love in our doing. And thirdly, intentional acts of love. So where is God's love when life is messy? And Ayla, one time, after hours of being in agony and to the point where she couldn't stop crying, one time she said, "Dad, I can't do this anymore. I can't do this anymore." And then, why isn't God taking away my pain? Why isn't God taking away my pain? As we've been praying and believing, and she was still sitting in so much pain. And then, man, walking through the children's hospital, my heart goes out to sick kids and parents loving on sick kids. It is, man, it's extremely difficult. And again, this thought of, Daddy, why isn't God taking away my pain? Have you had moments like that? Have you asked questions like that? God, where are you? God, where are you right now? I need you right now. God, why aren't you? And I'm sure we've all had those moments of I can't figure this out. And 1 Corinthians 13 and verse 12 that we read earlier, it says, my understanding is incomplete right now. It's incomplete. It's not fully rounded. I don't see the whole picture, but one day I will understand everything. And we're reminded that our understanding is limited, that we don't see the full picture. And we've got to acknowledge this. We've got to take this in. And our view of how God should run the universe comes from our, in the scheme of things, our very small little brain. Now, you may think yours is quite impressive, more impressive than many people around you. The reality is our brain is just a little pinprick in the extraordinary size of our God. And so we're reminded that we see in part, and some things don't make sense. And there are some great answers for why God would allow bad things to happen to good people, why we don't see everything turn out the way we should. And if you've got legitimate questions there, please ask a mature Christian or grab, there are some incredible books on this topic here. Let's continue on to verse 13. From verse 13 here, after we've just seen that our understanding is incomplete, and then it says, until then, verse 13, until then, there are three things that remain. In the midst of your tension, in the midst of the suffering, in the midst of the questions, right in the middle of that, I don't understand right now, God, these three things remain: faith, hope, and love. Faith, hope, and love. Yet love surpasses them all. That this remains even in the midst of our anguish, even in the midst of our extreme challenge. And faith, we have this faith in God for the very best, and we go to faith, and we know that our God is able, and that is a right position for us to step into. But we've got to find this place of resting in hope, this hope in God, even when we hoped for the best, but it seems like we're right now seeing the worst. But then through this all, we see that love rules. Love actually surpasses. And in the worst of circumstances, or in the greatest, we can find the real love of God reaching out to us. But we can also be a people who could be there reaching out to others with the love of God, for it surpasses them all. And we've got to, again, grab this bigger picture that ultimately God knows best, and God's best is best. God knows best, and His best is best. He is love. He loves us. He loves you. God is ultimately good, but He knows best, and His best is best. Our second thought here is to love in our doing, in our coming, in our going, in whatever there is happening in life. And the reality is there are people around us who are suffering. People around us who are in difficult circumstances, suffering maybe physically, emotionally, mentally, in various ways, practically. And we can, in our doing, be the hands and feet of Christ, displaying incredible love. And I want to give a shout out to the nurses at PCH, Perth Children's Hospital. Next level, extraordinary. And the nurses, they didn't totally change Ayla's health condition, but they totally changed her experience in her pain. That their love and care and demeanor and empathy was just seriously next level. And there's something just gloriously godlike. God is love. As whether these nurses know Jesus as Savior or not, they've picked up on one of His attributes, and there's something of that alive in them, which is just coming out in their doing. And so for us to be a people as followers of Jesus who go, yes, 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 that is who we are called to be, whatever it is that we're doing. And so if you're heading off to work as a tradie, or you're crunching the numbers, or whatever your industry is, that we could carry something of the heart, the love of Christ, and we can't necessarily always change someone's, the outcome, but we can change their journey. And so it could be a little interaction with someone. You might not change the overall whatever else is going on in their life, but that day in that moment, there was the love of God that came through you that helped shape their experience in that moment. And so whether that's a smile, whether it's a kind word, whether it's an SMS, cooking someone a meal, it's normally aligned with your gifting in a way of expressing that, whether it's just covering someone's slack in the workplace a little bit, whatever it is, there are these simple little moments where we're loving just in our doing. And 1 Corinthians 13 verse 4 says, love is large. Love is large and incredibly patient. Love is gentle and consistently kind to all. And again, this is what we experienced from these beautiful nurses. Love is large, and now it could be the smallest little act, little smile that one of the nurses gave Ayla. That for Ayla in that moment was so large for her that it mattered so much. And so let's continue to be those type of people. And thirdly here this morning, let's think about these intentional acts of love that we can do. Intentional acts of love. And we're overwhelmed. Ayla was overwhelmed with friends and some of our staff here on the team reaching out to her with simple acts of love. She, so many SMSs, obviously through Em and I, and phone calls and people reaching out saying, we love you, we're praying for you, Ayla. These gifts that came and flowers in the room and little squishy things that they love playing with and coloring books and some chockies and some friends of ours, one of the siblings of one of Ayla's best friends made a card and put $5 of her pocket money in there that she just wanted to give to Ayla to show some love. And there were these intentional acts of love that came Ayla's way that were just beautiful moments in a really difficult time. And how doable is this for us? We can't control everything that is happening in the world around us, but we can take opportunities like this, like these wonderful friends and family did for Ayla here, to brighten someone's day, to show the love of God, to be heaven on earth in a moment for someone in a small way, which for them can feel so large. And that, this is so much what Beyond is for us, for our church. Beyond is us intentionally determining to position ourselves for these acts of love. That together as a church community, that yes, we're going to be active in our doing, from our second point, in our coming and going of life, that we're going to see love and we're going to step into that place of love in our coming and going, in our doing. But we're also going to choose to have these intentional acts of love, where here as a church through Beyond, we actually join together to be able to show the love, send the love, spread the love to places where we may not physically ever be able to get, but together, love can touch down on planet Earth. And if you're newer with us as a church community, we typically, it's been in August that we gather together, and each year we set ourselves around Beyond our missions efforts, and we set a faith commitment. It's a commitment of what we're going to give towards the missions efforts of our church. So together we are in and sending the love that we make this yearly commitment. Now again, this year has had things that have been well outside my control. So here we are in November, and we are now doing this 6-month Beyond season. So what I want us to think about is over these next 6 months, what does our faith commitment look like? What does our missions efforts look like? What are we committing to in this regard? And since August last year, as a church community, we together have given over $440,000. Now that is seriously next level. Church, you are crazy generous. This is a part of who we are. For over 4 decades as a church, missions has been a critical focus, and we've shown this with our prayer, with our giving, and with our going. And so our faith commitment time here, this is a time for us to think about what we're going to give, which can empower so much of the going. So how we're doing it this year, and for you incredible people who are a part of Church Online, is we have our faith commitment available to you online. That's right, coming to you. So you can even, straight after the service today, jump on c3hh.com.au/beyond, and you can go straight to our Beyond page, our missions page there. And I jumped on this morning. Em and I talked about what we're going to be committing to again in this season of Beyond. And so for the next 6 months, we've made our commitment. I went on, and again, on the website, you can follow all of this through. And so type out the details there and how much you feel God is calling you to give to be a part of this for the next 6 months. And then after that's finished, it'll lead you to a place where you can put your I'm in pin. And this is a statement. This is a visual that is describing all of us as a church community from all the different suburbs where we live, saying, you know, I'm in. I'm in. I'm committing to this intentional act of love as a community, and I'm in. And then you can place your pin over the suburb where you live, and we're going to see these pins popping up all over the suburbs. It's like love touching down on planet Earth as we're intentional in this together. And again, I want us to think about, church, we can't control everything. Maybe we've been fooled sometimes in some good seasons into thinking we can. We can't, but we can control our intentional acts of love as we continue to let His love come alive in us and then flow through us into this world. And let's finish with 1 Corinthians 13, verse 7. Love is a safe place of shelter, for it never stops believing. It never stops believing the best for others. Love never takes failure as defeat, for it never gives up. Come on, this is who we are in Him. Let's let His word come alive in us. From verse 8, love never stops loving. God, we need your help, but I'm saying today, I'm in, and so come on, let's be in together. Love you, church.